Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hi, and welcome to the New Year's breakdown, astrological breakdown for 2023. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida. I want to welcome you to the podcast this week, and we are going to do a breakdown of 2023 month by month. And there will be other videos coming this week and through the end of the year, which will break down by elements. So fire, earth, water, and air. And if you follow along, if you do like and subscribe down below. If you're listening to it as a podcast, definitely like and subscribe, and you can get notifications when there are new posts in those venues, especially Facebook, Instagram, any of the places that I have social media sites. You can see when I post the new videos. But this week, we're going to do the whole year. We're going to break it down by month. And then I'm going to be posting through the end of the year the 4 different videos with the elemental breakdown. So say fire would be Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And that's probably the first one I'm going to do. Anyway, we're going to go and look at what's coming up based on New Year's and the chart for New Year's. And then we're going to look into month by month breakdown. I've got about 13 pages of information, and I'll explain that here in a minute as well. A lot of times what strikes me about a chart is kind of the first thing I notice, usually triangles. And in this case, we do have a grand trine in water with the South Node in Scorpio. And we've got Black Moon Lilith up there in Cancer at 7 degrees. And then off to the other side, we have Neptune, Juno, Neptune, and Vesta, which are all really good energies that support an ideal kind of romantic life, but home life as well, which is really a lovely energy that comes in. Juno represents marriage. Neptune is the dream, the vision, the ideal, and Vesta is home and hearth. So when you have those 3 clustered together, within 10 degrees right there in Pisces, you know that that's going to be kind of a theme for the year, especially if you have strong Pisces placements. But it is an idealization, but it's also the sentimentality that goes along with it. And it's not particularly tradition, except that in this case, we have Capricorn planets really strongly represented on New Year's Eve, which we do every year have at least the sun. But this year we have Sun, well, that's Vulcan right next to it, Mercury, Venus, Pluto. We have the moon today. The moon is in Capricorn as I'm recording this, but by the time New Year's comes around, of course, the moon is way up in Taurus. But having all this energy in Capricorn in positive aspect to the Pisces energy is a really amazing energy that supports the dream becoming real. It is also a staying power that is really strong with both these signs. Pisces is longevity. Capricorn is the elderly, which I guess you could translate to longevity, but it does tend to keep things longer term. And whenever, and I know this to be true, especially since we've had Pluto in Capricorn for the last couple decades, decade and a half, Capricorn represents things that we will have around for a good long time. I just always think about the Beatles, who are still making money and still a significant player in the mass-produced music market. They were under an Earth energy Pluto, which was Pluto in Virgo. And here we have Pluto in Capricorn, a very solid, long-lasting energy, as is Pluto in Taurus. Of course, that's a little ways away, and it's not going to happen in my lifetime. But if you're super young, it will probably happen in your lifetime. Speaking of that, my daughter's boyfriend became an uncle today, literally an hour and a half ago. So we have a new little baby, Jimena, and she was born around 2:00 Eastern here in Orlando, and it was about 48 hours of labor. So labor is represented by Earth energy. Virgo traditionally is the energy of labor, but definitely Capricorn, you're going to have the structure and a shift of structure. And she was born with the moon in Capricorn. Not surprising, because, as the moon, she went into labor under Sagittarius moon and actually did not have the baby till moon in Capricorn. So there are a lot of babies being born right now, I've noticed, and they're having these huge stelliums in Capricorn, which means their generation is going to be rather stoic, but a lot of planets in any sign will kick the energy over to the other side. And in this case, that will be Cancer. So if you know someone who has had a child recently in the last week or two, there will be a really strong energy of home and hearth in their nature, but also organization and need for structure and discipline and boundaries. That's going to be really strong with these children, and very psychic with the Piscean energy. Okay, so I'm just going to get on with it here. Looking at New Year's, Mars is going to be in Gemini throughout, well, for New Year's, which sets the energy for the year as a whole picture. And it is the birth of the year. If you think about it like that, this is a birth chart for the year 2023, at least in the Eastern time zone, and not specifically New York. As you go farther north, the rising sign changes, but I'm just doing it for my own so that it's my point of reference. And anyway, we have Taurus planets in the 8th house. So that's going to be some energy around like kind of what we've been dealing with, which is structure of money. Is it reliable? Is it not? Of course, Elon Musk is the poster boy for Uranus and Taurus. He doesn't necessarily have that in his chart, but he definitely is being triggered with all this energy. And his company, and even Tesla, has taken a significant hit in sales. Of course, sales is Aries, but retail is Taurus. And the energy in Taurus is definitely pointing to instability with Uranus there right now. The new year comes in with a moon in Taurus. So financial systems, economics, all of that will definitely be a very large player this year as an overarching theme. We have the North Node right between Uranus and the moon. So there is going to be a significant destined energy coming in about this. That is a node of fate. And the opposite would be joint finances, and they are in opposition to Uranus and the moon. Throughout the year, the nodes will keep moving retrograde throughout the sky. And I think they end right around 5, if I'm not mistaken. I may pause just to grab that. So the nodes of fate get all the way to 21 Aries, which is going to be really interesting because, of course, we've got Chiron in Aries, and Chiron this coming year makes it all the way to 15 Aries. So the nodes of fate and Chiron will be joining up at the end of the year. And that means that there's going to be a definite story about race and race relations, along with the police and the structure of the police systems. It is about, like I said, all the Aries things: sales, emergencies, emergency workers, construction, new home construction. It'll be interesting to see what happens with some of that because I personally had the idea that with all, I mean, I read an article in San Francisco, a lot of the buildings, it's like a ghost town downtown because tech left during the pandemic and everyone's working from their homes. So I think they need to renovate all these offices and make, like low income housing for people to get them off the streets. That's just my radical Aquarian energy in my chart speaking up. But yeah, so we're going to have Mars in Gemini throughout the year, and it will get out of Gemini by Cancer time. Well, actually by May, which is Gemini time, but Mars will get out of Gemini in May and go into Cancer. So when it goes direct, which is January 12th, it's going to be moving forward, wrapping up the story. So the course of Mars in Gemini last year was finding out where we have a dualistic nature, where we have two different things that are maybe in opposition or polarized, because the opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. We had that polarity going on. Then when it went retrograde, of course, we had to readjust. We had to figure out, okay, how is my life going to change? How I'm going to change what I truly want and really evaluate the duality of our nature. And when it goes direct, then we're going to be able to have more clarity on what direction to take and what is truly the more reasonable path to take, or even what we would desire more out of the two options. And then come May, Mars in Cancer is going to really ground that energy in and will maybe put it into action within the home life. Okay, I'm just going to go over most of what I said about New Year's Eve is going to be an overarching theme. But as you can see, there are stelliums in multiple places. We've got them in the 4th house, the 6th house, and the 8th house, mostly with a few other entities in the sky. But Mars is the only one other than those 3 houses. Saturn in Aquarius is going to Pisces in March. So the first third of the year, first quarter of the year is going to continue to be wrapping up that story in Aquarius around tech. Of course, that is influenced by Uranus and Taurus. But now that Saturn is past the exact square to that energy, he is really moving forward with what he has found out from the difficulty that we saw with that square throughout last year. And when I say last year, I mean 2022. Okay, I'm going to go through these aspects. And what I'm going to do is touch on what it means in every energy, as far as like what a specific transit or retrograde means. And then if you are that sign, you have planets in that sign, or you understand the zodiac a little more, knowing, say, I talk about Taurus, you know, that's an earth sign. So if you have earth planets, you're going to have more cooperative energy. If you have fire or air, you're going to have more difficult energy. And that's really the basis of a lot of the positive and negative energies, that air and fire get along, earth and water get along. So air and fire are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius for air. Fire is Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. And then you get into earth signs, which are Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. And then finally, water, which is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And so if you resonate to anything I say with those planets or the signs, then it will help you understand what is going on in your particular chart. And as I said, I'm going to put up the individual signs later on with the videos throughout the next 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for that. So January, the big thing we see in January is going to be Mercury retrograde, and which starts December 29th, which is next Friday, no, next Thursday, from when I'm recording this. And that's going to last 3 weeks, and we will see that go direct on the 18th of January. It's in Capricorn. So this year we're going to have 4 Mercury retrogrades in Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, and the very last one in December is going to be Sagittarius. So the Mercury retrogrades are focused mainly on pragmatic events, things that are constructive in a reason way, through reason, through intellect, through and I use intellect only probably because Mercury rules Virgo out of these 3 earth signs. But it's very practical. So it's organizing, it's the material world, it's money, it's structure. And Mercury retrogrades are designed this year specifically for understanding a logical, practical way of moving forward and things that have to be adjusted in the material world. Then in January, also the 1st, we've got Venus in Capricorn conjunct to Pluto in Capricorn overnight between the 1st and 2nd, actually between December 31st and 1st. And so having Venus join up with Pluto in Capricorn means that issues around women and structure and systems, how we look at the value of women in our lives, whether it's a mother or a wife or a daughter, female friend, it's going to be kind of an ongoing theme throughout the year. Are we feeling valued as women in society this year? And then Mercury in Capricorn is sextile to Neptune in Pisces, which kind of goes along with what I've said about what's going on with the chart. And so it's going to be a real strong time of making your dreams come true, really thinking things through in a logical sense and in a practical sense. That's Mercury in Capricorn. And it's generally going to be positive between Capricorn and Neptune because they are in sextile, which is 60 degrees apart, so they're cooperative. The only difficulty could be the retrograde coming in, which, like I said, starts before New Year's. So New Year's brings in a Mercury retrograde, and that means that we are going to evaluate with clear-mindedness the logical, practical things that are going on this year. January, also on the 12th, Mars goes direct, as I've talked endlessly about in the last few podcasts. This is the time when we finally get to move forward, and Mars in Gemini is going to really allow us to take action. It may mean that we will be taking action towards two things. I have said through the course of this, and even to family members, you do things twice. My daughter has taken tests twice. We've had to get more than one evaluation of car issues twice. So it's just duality, 222 until May. And it's also, like I said, altering what we know and what we really embrace for our path with two choices. It's also paperwork and contracts. Just know that that's part of it as well. Mercury direct on the 18th. I think I said that. It will be in Capricorn, 8 degrees. Yeah, 8 degrees of Capricorn. So we're going to get to relive about 7 degrees of Capricorn. And I'll let you know when we get to it, when Mercury gets out of that sign. Let's see, Sun moves into Aquarius January 20th. And so Sun in Aquarius, of course, is going to herald in the Aquarian energy of the coming Aquarian age. And it is, having your personal power within the collective is really the quintessential breakdown of Aquarius. We recognize the collective, we see humanitarianism, we see environmentalism and social work. Air signs are very keyed into social and social work. Gemini is a social sign, likes to connect to people and converse. Small scale, more one-on-one. The first three signs of the zodiac are kind of like one-on-one. And then we come to Libra, which brings in another person. We find balance. We also ignite that social working energy, and really are this Libra is the social worker of the zodiac. And then you get over to Aquarius, where now we can put that into the collective and really utilize that humanitarian nature or social work energy on behalf of the collective. So we will see more communal energy coming in. If it's difficult to find places to live, people are going to start being more communal in how they go about that. Maybe workplace environments will spring up. They're already starting to, little office hubs of people who are entrepreneurs sharing a common receptionist and work environment, but we're much more cooperative as a collective. So January with Sun in Aquarius, that is our ego, and the ego tends to be displaced in Aquarius. So we may feel a little disenfranchised as an ego body, but we are raising our vibration to a higher energy, especially as Pluto enters Aquarius. We will rotor our ego. Ego is going to have to take a back seat for a good part of this until the retrograde Capricorn segment of the year. If you look at where Aquarius is in the zodiac, it's opposite Leo, and Leo is an egoic energy. So the opposite of that is detachment from ego. And we are going to see that with the sun going into Aquarius the 20th. That's 3:30 a.m. Eastern and 12:30 a.m. Pacific. And then immediately after, the next day, the new moon is at 1 degrees of Aquarius. And so not only do we have the sun, we also have the moon. This is a highly concentrated 4 days, because on the 22nd, the planet Uranus, which is the ruling planet of Aquarius, which of course the moon and the sun will be answering to on that day, on the 20th and 21st and 22nd. So Uranus moves direct, and he has been retrograde, I want to say since probably August of 2022. And when he goes direct, it's going to be a major shift. It's the winds of change. So there may be windstorms. There could be electrical storms, which he also rules on en masse, outages, blackouts. But even though it can be storms, it can also be very clear sky and clear-mindedness, clear thinking. So know that that's coming in. Because of the shift in direction, that can ratchet electrical systems and neurons in our head. I have in the past tended to get migraines with this shift. I'm hoping, knock wood, that that is not the case this time. But if you get migraines during that time, know that the synapses in your brain are working overtime. January 26th, Venus enters Pisces at 9:33 p.m. Venus is the goddess of beauty and love and money. and retail and fashion and make hair, everything aesthetically pleasing. And so she pulls out of Aquarius where there is a detachment from those type of things, much more LGBTQ energy with Venus in Aquarius. And moving into Pisces, she is embracing the energy of universal love. And so we will see that shift at the end of January. Okay, so getting into February, we have Mercury entering Aquarius, and let me make sure that was, yeah. Mercury enters Aquarius at 6:22 p.m. Eastern and 3:22 a.m. Pacific. So, of course, we know this. Mercury is a similar energy to Uranus. It's just a lower vibration of it. So it is much more personal, interpersonal energy in the sign of the masses. So we are going to kick it from Capricorn up into Aquarius. That means that there will be, instead of focusing on literal speech and being very, oh, I don't know how, other than literal is like very pragmatic in how we talk, very, if I say it, I mean it. It's really grounded energy for how we speak. Coming into Aquarius, not that it's any less, practical. It's much more, it's about ideas, it's about possibilities. Because when you get to Aquarius energy, it's quantum, which means that, say, as an example, particles would line up linearly to create material. And like this is a good physical example, a pen, it's a floating pen. It's a pen. Obviously the particles have created a line, when they made this, but quantum energy means that particles are flowing through time and space, and they don't necessarily come at us in a physical linear fashion. So ideas are that way with Mercury and Aquarius, and that means that our thoughts can be very scattered. We may feel anxious, we may feel forgetful. We are the absent-minded professor under this energy. And so if you feel that way, if you feel scattered under Mercury and Aquarius, that's a big key to the energy throughout that month. And let's see, that's February. So Mercury stays in Aquarius through the beginning of March and enters Pisces on the 3rd of March, give or take. So the month of February will be very Aquarian, beginning with January 22nd or 20th. What did I say? 20th of January, sun goes into Aquarius, and that is really the beginning of all of this Aquarian energy coming in. So February 16th, the sun joins up with Saturn at 11:48 a.m. Eastern, and that means that there's going to be a stability energy around it. Even though it is also in Aquarius, Saturn doesn't go to Pisces until March, but sun joining Saturn in Aquarius is going to really highlight an ego release energy. So something that we felt we had to have to beef up our ego is going to be let go. And the Saturn energy in Aquarius is going to guide us to let that go. And that may mean, like prying it from our cold, dead fingers, as it were. That's what Saturn does. But Aquarius just wants to clean house. So look to be cleaning house with ego issues come the 16th of February. Sun enters Pisces, one of my favorite signs actually, because Pisces, I have 4 planets in Virgo. So Pisces is a very grounding energy to me. It is a very loving energy, even though it's a water sign. It is universally accepting. And that means that it is the sign of unconditional love, agape love. Having our ego sun shine the light on Pisces, February 18th is going to really bring in some loving, embracing energy. And who doesn't want that, right? And then finally in February, we've got a new moon in Pisces at 11:06 p.m. Pacific. And I think it's overnight. Let me see. Yeah, it's overnight, 2:06 a.m. Eastern. And so the new moon in Pisces, of course, joins up with the sun in Pisces. And then Venus enters Aries at 11:56 p.m. and 2:56 a.m. Eastern, also overnight. So new moon in Pisces and Venus entering Aries overnight. So moon is home and family, mothers, and nurturing and security. In Pisces, it means our boundaries that have gotten lower. We have a hard time psychically standing in our own energy. We may get information from the spirit world. We may pick up other people's emotional lives and get lots of visions, and dreams are heightened at that time. It is ethereal and it is highly creative. So if you're listening to your spirit guides and your sense of the afterlife and otherworldliness, you will get a lot of high inspiration. Venus in Aries means that now we can actually promote our art and make money from it. But that's just an aside because I'm an artist. Venus in Aries means that women are, well, this is very generalized. Women will express more of a determined energy, a drive that is traditionally assigned to masculine energy, but honestly, it can be neutral. Women can also have the power of anger and the power of forthrightness and things like that. So we will see that coming in with Venus and Aries. Okay, March. March is also Venus conjunct Jupiter in Aries, which is an added boost. I think it might be a little difficult year for men. There is a lot of activity focused in Aries, which is highlighting masculine roles. But of course, Venus moving into Aries is going to give women a voice through the energy of Aries. So this may mean that there is a lot of focus on athleticism at this time, or how our energy is expressed through work, through taking action, through construction, or even constructing an idea. And yeah, so we'll see a lot of expression of travel, of wanting to get out there and do things. And I think it's going to be actually a pleasant time with Venus and Aries. I think it reminds me of the early 70s when we had some stronger energy in Libra and Aries. And so I think that it's going to be a really embracing, playful time, because Aries is the infant or child in the zodiac. And so I think we're going to have more of a wonderment come in with Venus and Aries and Jupiter and Aries early in the year. Mercury enters Pisces at 5:52 p.m. Eastern, 2:52 p.m. Pacific. And so Mercury in Pisces, don't be surprised if people stop talking or pull their energy back and they're more psychic or more in tune. Mercury in Pisces traditionally is the energy where we don't speak up for what we want. We don't say it. We just kind of observe people and allow things to come to us. So it's mental energy in water, but it's also the hidden. And so we're just going to be in our emotions much more. We're going to intuit what needs to be done and not necessarily speak up and say it as much. March 11th, Mercury is sextile to Uranus. That's a positive energy. So being intuitive, and of course, Uranus is in Taurus, it's going to be following your intuition on how to make money, on where to put your money in stocks, who you might want to spend your time with, what kind of romantic situations could be coming in for you. Taurus energy, Uranus and Taurus mean there are love interests that are a little bit more eccentric or not the norm. It could be age difference, age gap, maybe deciding not to be involved in relationships at all. I have a friend who declared she is asexual. And so, it could be very much the alternative of desire, an alternate way of looking at it. And then on March 16th, Venus enters Taurus at 6:34 p.m. Eastern. And so Venus entering Taurus, of course, it's her own sign. It is going to be a time where we feel much better about growing things, money and love. And I know I am touching on very general energies with these signs and these readings, but if you study astrology, and goodness knows you can definitely pick up a lot of astrology if you listen to my podcast, there are many, many minute things that are ruled by this energy. So, and I will tell you, just as an aside really quickly, like I said earlier, makeup, hair, aesthetics, design, retail, financial markets, being tactile, touching things, having an energy of enjoying the feeling of things, being stubborn, taking a long time to mull things over, taking a long time to decide on something. Taurus is probably the slowest sign of the zodiac to take something and run with it. So I do have Jupiter, a very fast driven planet in Taurus, and I don't tend to be that way. But all the other energies will pick up on Taurus very slow, with maybe the exception of Mars. Although when you put Mars in Taurus, you're going to probably slow down his energy a bit as well. Okay, Mercury enters Aries on the 18th and 19th overnight, which means the time zones between Eastern and Pacific in America, it's going to cross over those time zones overnight. So Mercury entering Aries, it's going to be much more tantrum and assertive and maybe even irritable, angry, physical, and athletic. Our mind will go and default to the physical energies, and maybe instead of saying our truth, we actually need to physically express it somehow through athletics or our physical drive. March 21st, a few things going on March 21st. New moon in Aries at 12:01 p.m. Eastern, 9:01 a.m. Pacific. Moon joins up with Mercury at 9:34 p.m. that day. So we've got a new moon in Aries joining with the sun in Aries and also Mercury in Aries. So that's like a culmination on March 21st of a lot of energy that is more quick moving, mental, ego energy. And, it can be the impatience that we see coming out at that time. I just want things to go forward, just move quickly. So know that that's there. And of course, with Mars in Gemini and then Mercury in Aries, they are in mutual reception. Yes, Mars is in Gemini, Mercury's sign, and Mercury is in Aries, which is Mars's sign. So they're going to be expressing energy back and forth between themselves. And that means that our thoughts and our actions are very closely linked. A lot of forward momentum going on with that. The 23rd of March, beating a point to death, Pluto enters Aquarius, 8:13 a.m. Eastern, 5:13 a.m. Pacific, and 10:13 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Well, I hit a button and I ended the podcasts. Let's try that again. I'll start from this point. March 23rd, Pluto enters Aquarius at 8:13 a.m. Eastern, 5:13 a.m. Pacific, and 1:13 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Moon enters Taurus at 2:42 p.m. Interestingly, of course, Pluto will be squaring the moon. And, it's already a significant event to have Pluto shift signs. You will be feeling it, I would say, easily a week to 10 days out. So by the 10th of March, which is when Mercury sextiles to Uranus. And of course, we already have the sun and moon having entered Aquarius. This is just going to punctuate the energy that's been going on. And I don't know that it needs to be said, but Uranus/Aquarius is the energy of change. And so Pluto is about value of self to others. It is psychology. It is the deep, the hidden. And so look for a lot of things to start popping out. It is a house cleaning energy, but it's a house cleaning energy on a very deep life level. This is societal, with Aquarius and Pluto being generational energies. That means Pluto takes a very long time to go through a sign, and Aquarius rules the masses. So Pluto going into Aquarius, Pluto is plutonium. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is uranium. And this could mean that there may be some nuclear threat or nuclear power plant shutting down or starting up, or alternative energy. This is deep hidden ideas coming to the surface. Pluto and Aquarius both have connections to sex and the power of sex. And so I do think that this is also going to be a time of stories surrounding sex trafficking. There are a lot of things that are coming out in society that were hidden, but now will be so self-evident that we can't deny them anymore. And we will have to do something to address them as a collective. March 25th, Mars enters Cancer, and Mars in Cancer is going to put a lot of energy around the home and family, trying to cocoon and feel safe. Mars, of course, will take the energy of action and drive and focus it around the home. That means decorating, that means security and financial endeavors, that means maybe cooking, domestic endeavors, sewing and knitting. I mean, things that are traditionally seen as, housework. But I think that at this point, Mars being a masculine energy, there's enough stuff around the house to go around for everybody. And I personally have Mars in Cancer, so I'm going to be in my Mars return at that time. But it's very late Mars in Cancer. So it'll be interesting to see how things are triggered with that Mars in Cancer energy. If you have Cancer planets, you may be more agitated, and you may be more driven to do something about situations that you might normally have not wanted to take an action on. I know Cancer can make us kind of withdraw our emotional life and cocoon and try and protect ourselves, but Mars will get agitated more strongly because the emotion of Cancer, it answers to the moon. And later that very same day, March 25th, the moon enters Gemini. So at 8:42 p.m., moon in Gemini will be a little bit more frenetic and maybe more focused on things around the home like appliances and gadgets, and education of homeschoolers could be something that would really dovetail into this energy. And then the 27th and 28th of March, Mercury conjuncts Jupiter in Aries overnight. So it's cross time zones again, like I said. And Mercury is going to, like drive us. Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Aries is going to be the energy of children. It can be aggression. It is, because it is the week that we have Pluto in Aquarius, which is something deeply psychological, deeply disturbing that moves the masses. I think that we are going to have a secondary storyline associated with energy around children, possibly even involving violence. I think that it's likely. So I'm just letting you know that it's kind of associated with that energy. Not that it's anything I terribly like to predict, but it's there nonetheless. April, Mercury enters Taurus at 12:22 p.m. So again, grounding of our mental energy. Now we're going to take our time. We're not going to make decisions quickly. We're going to think more about how things appear on the surface, how we can improve the beauty of a situation, how we can involve women, how maybe even our feminine mind is stronger at this time. April 5th and 6th overnight, the full moon in Libra at 16 degrees. Full moon in Libra, of course, is the culmination of an energy around a Venus energy, around beauty. Let's see, they're only 2 days apart. Mercury will be in Taurus, full moon will be in Libra. There will be, at some point in that vicinity of early April, a square between Mercury and the full moon. And that means they are both in Venus signs, but at odds with each other. So one is superficial in a sense of the beauty of the surface, which would be Taurus. And then Libra is a little more in the quick-mindedness, and it likes the idea, but isn't so good with practicality. The beauty of the cooperation between the full moon in Libra and Mercury in Taurus is that it's teaching us how to integrate the ideas around retail, around money, around love and desire, and bring them into the material world. So it could be a really good time for relationships. Of course, there will be friction, but the friction is designed to bring out a new storyline and some change that's much needed. That can also be finance and markets. April 10th through the 11th overnight, Venus enters Gemini. And so again, she's going to be very flirtatious. She's going to be social. Women or anyone strongly influenced by Gemini are going to be very attractive and appealing to both genders, and maybe even try out both gender dating. You never know. Sun joins Jupiter at 6:07 p.m. again overnight, and or 6:07 p.m. Eastern, which would be 3:07 p.m. And I'm thinking that's probably the 11th, but don't quote me on that. So Sun and Jupiter. Well, Sun joins Jupiter means that we're going to have a lot of social energy coming in around the 10th and 11th between Venus and Gemini and Sun and Jupiter. They're very into I would even say hedonism and things that are very much about pleasure and really expanding our energy around pleasure and sex and drive and beauty and love. And it's going to be a really amazing time to be out dating. Let me tell you, lots of opportunity. April 19th and 20th overnight, we've got the moon joining Chiron at 1:25 a.m. Eastern. The moon conjunct Jupiter at 1:27 a.m. Eastern, which means it's Pacific in the PM. I know, behind, yes, Pacific PM on the 19th. And then, so moon joining with Chiron is going to be that emotional, home focused energy. Chiron's in Aries. And so it's going to be something, again, it's Aries, children, home. Chiron is the wounding, something associated with boys or men and boys and wounding. Moon joined Jupiter, so that's an expansion and a focus. It can also mean people of other cultures. It can mean foreign energy and travel. And so there may be some energy coming in around the 19th and 20th where travel comes up. And the solar eclipse in new moon at 29 degrees Aries. What I see with Chiron, Jupiter, and Aries, and the solar eclipse new moon, and then the sun entering Taurus, to me, this is a really strong energy around potential violence and aggression in a general sense, but it can also be focused towards children or boys or male energy, showing us issues that need to be addressed. The sun entering Taurus. Taurus is one of the more physically assertive signs that can be aggressive. And I'm not sure at that time how many planets will be in Taurus. So Mercury will be in Taurus and the sun will be in Taurus. And, if you have strong planets in Aries or Taurus, you can potentially fall victim to abuse, physical abuse. And so if that's the case, please do get help, because there's no need to put up with that. Nobody should have to put up with any kind of physical abuse, but I'm just going to give you a heads up around this. Mercury retrogrades on April 21st. And so Mercury retrogrades in Taurus at 4:35 a.m. Eastern, 1:35 a.m. Pacific. And in Taurus, it means that we have to go back over those situations that, if you planted something, you might have to plant it again. I wouldn't plant anything under a retrograde Mercury in Taurus, because it's just not going to grow very well. And that includes money and finances, or any type of event that you're trying to initiate something. Don't do it if you want it to grow under a retrograde Mercury in Taurus. And then moving on to May Pluto retrogrades at 1:09 p.m. and 10:09, that's Eastern, and 10:09 a.m. Pacific at 0 degrees and 22 minutes of Aquarius. So there will be a little bit of time before Pluto actually gets back into Capricorn, but he is retrograding, which means we are adjusting. What we learned about the new energy of Pluto and Aquarius, and it's new to us, it hasn't been there since 265 years ago. And I'm not doing the math right now, so you figure it out. It's about around 1776. I just want to say also, I stopped the podcast for a minute. I'm getting a little dizzy. So that tells me that because we're talking a lot about Aquarian energy, there's almost like this cycling of energy going on. It can be neurological, it can be electrical, but it's almost like a battery, like a generating energy kind of thing. So if you feel that, definitely ground. You're going to need to ground under Aquarian energy very much this coming year. It's going to be overwhelming. It isn't an energy that we are necessarily used to. And if you're an Aquarius, you might already kind of have an idea what's coming, but it is very strong mental energy. And if you aren't grounding, you could get dizzy. You could have issues with, how you integrate the energy in your life. May 1st, also, there is a lunar eclipse, the moon at 14 degrees Scorpio at 1:34 p.m. Eastern, 10:34 a.m. Pacific. And so a full moon eclipse in Scorpio is going to be intense energy around deep issues, around emotional triggers, psychological triggers, the value in your joint bank accounts, in your investments, things of a hidden nature, and also any kind of underworld themes. It is kind of moody, gothic energy. And so just know that that is coming out. I personally have a moon 2 degrees off of this, so it's going to be an interesting energy. It's about commitment and integrating an emotional storyline as well. May 7th, Venus enters Cancer at 10:25 a.m. Eastern. And so Venus in Cancer is going to put all that energy around the home and family. Could be items that you're going to purchase that are useful around the home and family. May 12th, there isn't any specific entrance of a planet to another sign or retrograde that day, but we do have Mercury in Taurus sextiling Saturn in Pisces, Mercury in Taurus sextiling Venus in Cancer, Moon in Aquarius sextiling Jupiter in Aries, and Venus in Cancer trine to Saturn in Pisces. So there's a lot of energy of sextile and one of trine. And overall, that can be really positive energy because it's Moon, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter, and they're all kind of in cooperation. And it's in Taurus, Pisces, Cancer, a little Aquarius and Aries, but overall, it's about the interpersonal planets really enjoying kind of the fruits of their labor. So I think May 12th is going to be a lovely positive energy for stock markets and money and finance and love. May 19th, it's a good day for sextiles to the moon with Neptune and Mars, Mercury in Taurus, sextile to Saturn in Pisces, and there's a new moon at 28 degrees of Taurus at 11:53 a.m., 8:53 a.m. Pacific. So Mercury in Taurus, all the usual suspects, money, finances, beauty, and love, and sextiling Saturn in Pisces, creating the vision that you have for love and money. Really good day for doing that. New moon in the Capricorn sector of Taurus. And so it's going to be about really rooting in and adding fertilizer to that item you want to grow. May 20th, Mars enters Leo at 11:31 a.m. Eastern, 8:31 a.m. Pacific. And so Mars in Leo is, of course, going to be dramatic. It may enter with news about someone in the spotlight. There could be something that is very dramatic going to happen at that time. We are going to have our attention drawn to the connectivity of people, and that's what Leo does. It connects people. We also have Mars opposite Pluto at 11:12 p.m. and 8:12 p.m. Pacific. So Mars opposite Pluto is going to be significant energy around war and around strategy. Pluto in Aquarius wants us to really be very aware of the repercussions of taking war too far. And May 20th is going to be extremely highlighted with the energy of strategy, of war, of power within a warring faction. So I definitely think, especially because Putin is strongly influenced by Uranus and Taurus, I think Pluto in Aquarius is going to highlight the war in Ukraine. But it could be a lesson, and hopefully the lesson is seen by Putin, because I think also, as far as the world in a lesson, we just have to recognize that you don't get to peace through war, and that the mentality of war really needs to be let go of. May 21st, there's a T-square. The sun enters Gemini at 3:09 a.m. It can be a rough sleep, and you can't shut off your mind. So, yeah, sun in Gemini, the moon is in Sagittarius. So probably Neptune in Pisces rounds out the rest of that T-square. Okay, June, full moon on the 3rd in Sagittarius at 13 degrees, 11:42 p.m. Full moon in the middle of Sagittarius means that there's going to be a strong positive energy of expansion, growth, spirituality, travel, kind of like the court jester of the zodiac, Sagittarius is. And Sagittarius really wants us to embrace people of other cultures. And so that could be highlighted on June 3rd. And then June 5th, the moon enters Capricorn at 3:31 a.m. Eastern, and Venus enters Leo at 9:46 a.m. Eastern. So moon in Capricorn and Venus in Leo, they are in conjunct, and the moon in conjunct to Venus, which means if you take the two sides of the zodiac, you have Capricorn here and Cancer here, go one sign over and you've got Leo, and that's 150 degrees together. Not a pleasant energy. Quincunx, for those who like the phrase, I'm not a fan, and conjunct 150 degrees. And that means that there will be some friction we see between the moon and Venus, which is desire and home, also the structure and the need to express through our ego, which is Leo. Venus wants to get attention. She's not getting the attention she needs, and people in the home environment are not necessarily supporting her in that endeavor. June 11th, Leo enters Capricorn again, retrograde at 5:47 a.m. Eastern, 2:47 a.m. Pacific. Mercury in Taurus trines to Pluto in Capricorn. Venus enters Gemini at 6:27 a.m. Eastern. Moon enters Aries at 9:20 a.m. and Venus in Leo squares Jupiter in Taurus at 11:40 p.m. So June 11th, very big day again, because we're going back into the structure. Pluto wants to take one of the last two retrograde periods this year, or 2023 and 2024, to really wrap up the idea that you need to do what makes you happy. You are responsible for you. Other people may protest, but you have to have your boundaries, which is a Capricorn thing. It's the structure. It is the line in the sand. So that is the lesson the next 2 summers with Pluto retrograding in Capricorn. Where are your lines in the sand? Mercury in Taurus, of course, another earth energy. It's how we think, how we take our time to understand. Pluto in Capricorn. So it's very strong structural, material world things. Trines can also be deeply emotional. Because Pluto is a ruler of the underworld and deeply emotional, and it's in an earth energy, Mercury in an earth energy, also trining Pluto in Capricorn, I see this energy as probably mentally taxing. There's going to be some difficult storylines that we have to integrate mentally. And then Venus enters Gemini at 6:27 a.m. and Moon enters Aries at 9:20 a.m. Eastern. So Venus and Gemini, again, multiple choices, multiple desires. And the Moon in Aries is in cooperation with Venus on June 11th. And Moon in Aries means I have now a vision of nurturing that is much more proactive. Venus in Leo squares Jupiter in Taurus, again, an adjusting aspect. Venus in Leo, the ego, the need for attention, the need to connect to another person. Jupiter in Taurus is expanding the groundedness, expanding how we look at structure around material goods. June 17th, Saturn retrogrades at 1:27 p.m. 10:27 a.m. Pacific in Pisces. Between 5 and 0 degrees of Pisces, Saturn retrogrades. So the early degrees of Pisces, and it doesn't go back into Aquarius this year. It is moving fully into Pisces. We are all learning how to trust our intuition. That's truly what it is. Careers are going to be adjusted based on what we feel, what our heart says, and our vision for what we want out of the future. And just know that if you're not able to really take action on your career, the universe is asking you to really integrate the deeper emotional integrity within your life to be where you need to be. I'm going to listen to this again because I have it exactly on my Saturn. It's my Saturn return, June 17th. And then overnight, we have a new moon in Gemini on the 17th as well. And so there is some square energy going on between Sun in Gemini, Moon in Gemini, and Neptune in Pisces. Actually, Sun squares Neptune, but Moon will square Saturn. And that's over the 17th and 18th of June. And so the adjusting here is going to be between the mindset and the emotions, the deeper understanding, deeper knowing, the vision for what you want versus the mental chatter that keeps you from it. And then the ego steps in with Sun and Gemini as well. Okay, the 21st, summer solstice, sun enters Cancer, 10:58 a.m. Eastern, 7:58 a.m. Pacific. The sun shines, and it shines on Cancer, it shines on home and family, and really sink in and feel happier, really. Solstice time is kind of a bright light in the year and longest day of the year. June 21st. The 25th, Mercury in Gemini squares Neptune in Pisces. What we feel is a logical step or list of steps to do is not in cooperation with what the greater vision is. The greater vision is going based on intuition, based on gut instinct, and our minds are chattering away. It's just another accented day. So we got the moon, we got the sun, and June 25th, we have the mind, and that's Mercury. June 30th, Neptune retrogrades at 5:07 p.m., 2:07 p.m. Pacific. And so Neptune retrograde is going to be a major shift of water, could be rain, could be drought. Either way, it could be an excess or a lack of. Okay, moving into July. Full moon, 11 degrees of Capricorn at 7:39 a.m. Eastern, 4:39 a.m. Pacific. And full moon in Capricorn at 11 degrees is going to reiterate the story around Pluto and Capricorn. They are both there now. And so it's going to be about the structure. It's going to be about the government, systems, organizations, et cetera, et cetera. Same old story. Full moon, letting go of something. The culmination of a story around the mid-range. So it's Capricorn, Taurus energy. So money, this will be a money aspect coming in on the 3rd of July. And as we go into the 4th of July weekend, which I don't know what day of the week 4th of July falls on. It is a Tuesday. So there will be some interesting and interesting developments around money. Stressful day, July 6th. Seems to me every time we have a 4th of July weekend or 4th of July energy, we always have some stress. And in this case, July 6th is Mercury in Cancer, square Chiron in Aries, Moon in Aquarius in conjunct the Sun in Cancer, Moon in Aquarius opposed to Venus in Leo, Moon in Aquarius opposed to Mars in Leo, Mars in Leo in conjunct to Neptune in Pisces. Moon enters Pisces at 1:33 p.m. Eastern. Moon joins with Saturn in Pisces overnight, and Mercury in Cancer sextiles Uranus in Taurus overnight. How to pick that apart? Mercury, Chiron in Aries is going to be home and family and a wounding around men or boys or aggression. Moon in Aquarius in conjunct Sun in Cancer is going to be uncooperative with freedom centered on home life and family life. Moon in Aquarius opposite Venus and Leo, a need for freedom of creativity being squashed by someone you live with or mom. Moon in Aquarius opposite Mars in Leo. So Venus and Mars will both be in Leo opposite the moon in Aquarius. So the desire and the drive to be together for men and women may be in opposition to an overarching desire around what the home and family would really prefer for us at that time. Moon enters Pisces, of course, gets very watery, gets very emotional and sentimental. This is also a time when we could have issues around the home and the need for ego fulfillment at odds with our deeper emotional life, and it may spill over into the news stories. Moon joins with Saturn in Pisces, and that's probably the ending of a storyline and or a sentimental event taking place around an elderly member of the family. Mercury Cancer sextile to Uranus and in Taurus overnight. Mercury is a positive. Mercury and Uranus are working together in Cancer and Taurus to really give us a positive storyline around anything tech. That could be anything from TVs to cryptocurrency. So just be aware of that. July 10th and 11th overnight, Mercury enters Leo in multiple time zones. So Mercury in Leo means that now we are going to embellish on how we speak of things. We are creating a storyline. We are creating a drama, a larger than life event. And know that Mercury, when it's in Leo, acts and behaves that way. It loves drama. It loves contrast. And it also loves to go out and kibitz with friends. So go out and enjoy a nice meal at a restaurant. July 17th, new moon in Cancer at 24 degrees, late degree, but new, which means the energy is highly focused around family and wanting something significant, something very valuable, wanting to spend time that creates quality time with that Scorpio decan. Mars in Virgo on July 20th, opposite Saturn in Pisces. So this is the energy that really gets our dreams and visions for career around maybe a metaphysical career or an artistic career, poetic, anything like that. Things that reference the past are really getting the ability to take off. With Mars in Virgo, it's very strong drive towards work and the workplace and taking action on practical things. So use the vision and then put the action behind it. July 22nd, we've got a few things going on this day. Venus retrogrades at 28 Leo at 9:33 p.m. Eastern. Sun enters Leo at 9:50 p.m. Eastern, 6:50 p.m. Pacific. Venus retrogrades 28 degrees Leo and Sun enters Leo. So they're at either end of the spectrum of Leo, which means we're wrapping up a story around a love situation and whether or not we truly connect to that person. And then as the Sun enters Leo, we find that we need to have our desires met all that much more. Children, creativity, and romance and connectedness are highlighted. And then to wrap up, July 28th, Mercury enters Virgo at 5:31 p.m. Eastern, 2:31 p.m. Pacific. So Mercury in Virgo means that now we are going to be highly analytical. We can be critical, but we're also very supportive of people, especially children and students. It is a teacher energy. We are now in the desire of getting back into the swing of things with school. Maybe we have summer school, and we're going to really buckle down and learn what we need to learn at this time. Okay, August 1st, 2023, full moon in Aquarius, 9 degrees at 2:32 p.m. Eastern, 11:32 a.m. Pacific. So for Leos, full moon in Aquarius in August is going to mean that you have the sun in Leo and the moon in Aquarius. So normally Leos like to connect. They like to relate to the other. And Aquarius is about detachment from connection and really embracing the release, the emotional release of connectedness. So a full moon at 9 degrees, it's early degrees of Aquarius, which is the Aquarius decan. And that means that we're really trying to bring in a new energy. It's a fixed energy. It's the second sign of its quadrant, and that makes it fixed. And so we're really adjusting, but digging our heels in to the adjustment and releasing, but doing it in a sense that this is not going to change after that. It's really a dichotomy because Aquarius being a fixed sign, it doesn't want to change, but yet it's all about change. So go figure that. August 11th, Mars in Virgo in conjunct Chiron in Aries. So we have the energy of Mars, which rules Aries, in Virgo, which makes it very practical, very earthbound, and kind of bound by analysis. And it's in conjunct to Chiron, which kind of, it's like I've said before, it's humanitarian or humanities, meaning social energy, things of interest around art and science and music and philosophy. And it is the wounding. So Mars in Virgo is a teacher, and in conjunct Chiron in Aries, it does affect work, it affects health, it affects education and teachers. And because Chiron in Aries is a kind of an aggressive wounding, I do foresee that this is also another hot point of potential harm and violence. And because Mars in Virgo is teachers and educators, it is also the workplace. So any place of service or medical energy, health, medicine, etc. are at risk on the 11th, and it's not in alignment with the male energy or drive. It is a frustration and basically a burr under the saddle. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that energy. August 13th, the sun in Leo is joined up to Venus in Leo, 7:16 a.m. and 4:16 a.m. Pacific. Sun and Venus, of course, it is beauty and kind of being in your glow, being in the aura of beauty and drama and hair and lots of hair. It could also mean, I want to say, any Aries sign, if you have a strong Aries shift, you may want to get a haircut or change your look and appearance with the hair. It is also head wounding and butting your head. So that is part of the frustration, is Aries just wants to hit it and get it done. And if there are any difficulties like August 11th with Mars and Virgo in conjunct, they're not getting their needs met. They're having to butt heads, and Virgo is standing staunchly in that energy. But the 13th, Sun in Leo conjunct Venus in Leo, is a positive day. It means that the sun is shining and birds are singing and we want to connect to people and we're having a good time with it. August 16th is a new moon in Leo. And so, that whole week, August 13th through the 16th, could be, fairly nice, with the exception of the 11th. So new moon in Leo at 23 degrees, 5:38 a.m. Eastern and 2:38 a.m. Pacific. Even though it's early in the morning, it kind of sets up the day. So we have the sun, Venus, and moon in Leo, which is the energy of romance, the energy of children and creativity. I would say if you don't want children around that time, just use extra precautions. August 23rd, sun enters Virgo, 5:01 a.m. Eastern, 2:01 a.m. Pacific. And Mercury retrogrades in Virgo, 3:59 p.m. and 12:59 p.m. Pacific. It's a difficult mental energy. Watch out for accidents, tech issues, work, health, service, and medical service at that time. August 28th, Uranus in Taurus, 23 degrees retrograde, 10:39 p.m. Eastern, 7:39 p.m. Pacific. Uranus in Taurus retrograde. So again, Uranus is the technology issue. It is clear-mindedness. It is organizing. It is clutter clearing and detachment from emotion in the Venusian sign of Taurus, which is romantic and feminine receptive. So what you have is the planet of masculine power and sex on some level, a sexual power, in a sign of feminine romantic receptivity, retrograding, which means all of that is going to shift and affect those areas, affect sexuality, affect receptivity, affect money and love and, markets. It's going to affect technology. Probably cryptocurrency is the most quintessential expression of this. It is the internet. Probably Elon Musk is going to have more issues at this time. August 30th, full moon in Pisces at 7 degrees, 9:36 p.m. Eastern, 6:36 p.m. Pacific. And it's going to be 7 degrees. So you're going to have this wonderful universal love being triggered with that full moon. And at the same time, because it is in Pisces, because it is full and an ending, there could be a saying goodbye to someone in entertainment or the arts, and possible feminine energy. Okay, coming into the home stretch here, September 1st, the moon is opposite Mars, and Mars in Libra in conjunct Saturn in Pisces, 5:01 p.m. So I'm just going to generically say moon opposite Mars, home and family opposite the drive to do something. So family members are going to have more of a say in what you take care of. Mars in Libra, so that's where Mars is. So obviously the moon is in Aries. Moon is in Aries, meaning it's in the sign of Mars, opposite Mars in the sign of Libra. So this is also relating to my identity versus our identity as a couple. And it's in conjunct to Saturn in Pisces, which means there's going to be a strong come to Jesus moment in relationships or in partnerships. And then subconscious energy, really owning the desires you're feeling at this time, the heart-driven motivation. September 3rd, Venus goes direct at 12 degrees of Leo, 9:20 p.m. Eastern, 6:20 p.m. Pacific. Venus direct in Leo. Venus retrograde in Leo, which I think we mentioned before, pulling back the energy, frustrated, desires not coming to fruition. But when Venus moves direct, she is very much getting her way, and her way is to be with friends and to go out and have a nice social time and be in charge. Venus loves to be the center of attention, and in Leo, she is extremely dramatic and gets the attention. And now that she's direct, she is going to be in her glory, golden hair and golden aura. Okay, September 4th, Jupiter at 15 degrees Taurus retrogrades at 10:10 a.m., 7:10 a.m. Pacific. Jupiter in Taurus, so expanding the energy of money, love, growth. This is also food and agriculture, and Jupiter is travel. So there may be actually Jupiter in Taurus, I would totally say go to Italy or go to France where food is well prepared. Taurus loves to cook. Jupiter is travel and people of foreign culture. It's expansion, spiritual growth, and it retrogrades, meaning that it pulls energy back. It acts more like Saturn. So now is a time to really hone in on what your spiritual voice is and what you do want to grow in a larger, broader sense. September 9th, Cancer, Virgo, Taurus are in positive aspects. It's good for home and money. I'm just generically throwing that out because there are a lot of different aspects. I'm not going to touch on all of them. Mercury on the 15th is in Virgo and goes direct. So now the mental energy is able to move forward. Mercury retrograde in Virgo, and I'm not sure when that was, 3 weeks earlier. Yeah, it was the 23rd of August. So from August 23rd to, sorry about all the rustling, August 23rd through September 15th, that's when our mental capacities are incapacitated, and we review old stories around education, being a teacher, being a doctor, being a pharmacist, any of the mental pursuits within medical fields or analysis and administrative energies within a traditional workplace. I'm struggling. Words will flow better at this time. Mercury and Virgo direct. We will have more mental clarity and analysis will be much more spot on. September 19th, opposition square in conjunct to Scorpio moon, Venus and Leo, Neptune, Jupiter, difficult for money, finances, romantic connections are hard. Again, so many different types of aspects. I'm not going to get into all of them because there are only so many minutes I can record this for, but just know September 19th, it's going to be a little more difficult. And then the 22nd of September, Sun enters Libra overnight, meaning from one time zone to the next. So the 22nd to the 23rd, and Sun in Libra means we are looking for balance. We are looking for partners. We are looking for love, possibly in all the wrong places, but definitely in our minds. September 30th, Mercury, Virgo, trine Uranus and Taurus, which is money. I see this aspect as being much more pragmatic and down to earth. It's kind of an energy where we're brought to the energy of analysis and really getting a grip on where the money is and crossing our T's and dotting our I's. The Virgo energy is you're wanting to keep track of your money. And so that is it's very practical, very crisp energy. And it helps us really understand where everything's going. Budgets, it's budgeting. September 30th, overnight to October 1st, Mars in Libra in conjunct Uranus and Taurus. So Mars in Libra is wanting to keep cooperation. Uranus and Taurus is trying to keep chaos around different energies. I think Uranus is retrograde still at this time. And so Mars in Libra and Uranus in Taurus is a square. They're not cooperating. It is about money. It is about love. It is about chaos and energy that is uncomfortable and up in our minds. We're really overthinking things when it comes to love and money. Just know that. October 2nd, Mercury, Virgo, opposite Neptune and Pisces. So this is when we are more mentally frustrated about we feel the need to get a grip on what we're understanding, but Neptune in Pisces is derailing us because it's not cooperative, because it's very internal, it's very emotional, and we really integrate more of a sensitivity instead of a mental energy. So Mercury is really struggling with the energy at that time. If you have Virgo planets, just breathe and ground and maybe take some time off and take naps, because Neptune in Pisces, it's there for a while, a few more years, and we really need to start working with late degree Neptune in Pisces to embrace things like meditation and yoga and some type of spiritual or shamanic practice to really acknowledge the Neptunian energy, the emotions, the water, the sensitivity to esoteric energies. October 4th, Mercury enters Libra. So Mercury is kind of an air energy when it's in Gemini. And in the sign of Libra, it really wants to think more about what the situation is with relationships, with partnering, and how we can balance better our situations with other people. October 5th, difficult relationships with Mercury in Libra in conjunct Saturn in Pisces, Mars in Libra in conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Mercury and Mars in Libra in conjunct Saturn and Neptune. So, Mercury and Mars are probably not going to win this fight, that they're going to have to give up their mental dogma. In other words, whatever their belief system is or whatever their methodology towards their ultimate outcome is going to have to be given over to intuition and to a greater vision that comes out through Pisces. Okay, October 10th, Pluto goes direct. And by this time, we're all going to be very grateful for that. Pluto direct in Capricorn and late degrees Capricorn. And so, again, it is the sense that we have major shifts and changes to make, and we have our identity, our ego, our value as a person in the collective really can move forward again towards that Aquarian energy, wrapping up the need to always tell everybody else what to do. And the structures are bringing us more and more towards independence and towards expressing ourselves and our psyche in a more independent way. October 11th, Mars enters Scorpio overnight, 9:04 p.m. Eastern, overnight with England, but it's still 6:04 p.m. Pacific. We are going to see a lot more aggression, a lot more intensity, because Mars is the warrior, Scorpio is the strategist. And so Mars into Scorpio means that now in the actions we take, we're going to strategize much more. And guess what? October 14th, there is a solar eclipse and a new moon at 21 Libra, 1:55 p.m. Eastern, 10:55 a.m. Pacific. So it's in Libra, it's at 21 degrees. We are going to see an Aquarian energy, and that's the decant that the new moon will be in, with Libra energy. So it is about balance, it is about the collective, and it is about cooperation between partners. The eclipse means that we're going to find out new information that we didn't know before. Yeah, and it's about partners and relationships. Okay, let me see what else. Social work, I'm trying to think of all the Libran things. Beauty, balance, integration, social work. Okay, October 19th and 20th, Sun Mercury conjunct in Libra overnight. And so on the other side of the world, it's going to be more pronounced because Sun and Mercury will be shining together in the sky. The Sun will overlay the energy of Mercury. I think so. It's kind of like an eclipse, but it's an eclipse of communication. It's an eclipse of messages and messaging like postal work, postal service. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something gone screwy or mail gets misplaced or misdirected, only because the power is so intense and the balance is the focus. But again, it does kind of act like an eclipse on some level. And so our egos are involved, but it is about connectivity and balance. October 21st and 22nd overnight, Mercury enters Scorpio across the US. And so our thoughts now go back into emotions. It can be very depressive energy. We are going into fall time. It is the, let's see, where's Sun? Sun enters Libra close to this date. I don't know why I didn't put the Sun. So yeah, the Sun enters Libra right around the 21st. And Mercury enters Scorpio, Sun goes into Libra. So it is the the fall equinox. And that means, of course, that we're going to have our focus a lot on the underworld, on the darker side of things, depressive things, but also, ghosts and cemeteries and Halloween. The 29th of October, Mercury in Scorpio conjunct Mars in Scorpio. Thoughts and actions align around joint finance and legalities, but it is also a time of politics and politicianing. And as we get later on next year, of course, there's an election year in 24. And so it's probably going to get more ramped up around fall next year. Of course, like Stephen Colbert said, we just finished our midterms, so now we're hot and heavy into the election cycle. November. On the 4th, Saturn turns direct in Pisces, 3:03 a.m. Eastern, 12:03 a.m. Pacific. And so Saturn direct in Pisces means that we are now going to move forward with more of that overarching love of some type of creative endeavor. We're very keyed into the collective. We may have difficulty with boundaries, but Saturn's there to help us find the boundaries for the next 2.5 years. And then the moon enters Leo, 3:21 a.m. in conjunct to Saturn. And so moon, Saturn, and Pisces, they're going to be, well, they're both very creative, but they don't really understand each other very well, because Pisces is very selfless, and moon, and well, it is absorbed as a chameleon of the zodiac, and it absorbs into the others that are around. And Leo very much wants to stand out and be the center of attention. So there is a friction between the moon and Saturn. And so the moon, around the home life, which the moon always indicates our home. Around home or mom, we want some attention, but dad/Saturn/career is not giving it to us, because that energy is very much about the collective and what's good for the whole. November 9th and 10th overnight, Mercury enters Sagittarius. And so Mercury is short distance travel and also communication and thought going into Sagittarius, which doesn't particularly like any of those things other than maybe the travel. And it is broader travel, it's spiritual travel, a seeking mind for a broader spectrum around people of other cultures. I mean, I say this all the time, but those are the themes. Sagittarius is athleticism. It is getting out and running and hiking and walking. Mercury is mental energy. So if you're getting stopped up, it is polarity. Sagittarius is polarity. Mercury is mind space. So Mercury and Sagittarius can mean that you're feeling torn between two different things or two different ways of thinking. And getting out and walking will be a really great way to help you. And that's for a period of a few weeks. November 17th, lots of trine and sextile aspects to earth, water. So joint finances, intense, it's deep, emotional, money, stable, literal energy, structures of money and investment are highlighted. Okay, November 22nd, the sun enters Sagittarius at 9:03 a.m. Eastern, 6:03 p.m. Pacific. And for the next few days, actually for about a week or 5 days, it is the Gemini Sagittarius axis. Mars enters Sagittarius on November 24th. There's a full moon in Gemini on the 27th at 4 degrees. So the connection of all of these energies basically means that Mars is in Sagittarius, driving us to go. It is very driven to take action, to keep moving, to not stick around very long. And then the full moon in Gemini means that we are in that duality nature again, but we're wrapping it up in early degrees, meaning that something that had been happening, now we need to release to either situation. It's either or, okay, let it be, let it go. November 30th, Venus in Libra in conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Difficulty in vision, love, ideals, relationships can stress or break up. Again, it's what is ideal, what is the best for me and for the collective, and what is best for my balance. Okay, December. December has 2 full pages. There's a lot of energy coming in, but we are wrapping up the zodiac with December 1st. Mercury enters Capricorn in the morning, and moon enters Leo at 11 a.m. So, of course, Mercury and moon are in conjunct in those energies. And Mercury in Capricorn wants you to speak very succinctly, literal, and responsibly. Moon in Leo is given to embellishment, hence the difficulty between the two. So know that when you're in social situations or around your family, you want the attention, but things you say should be honest and literal. Otherwise, they're going to call you out on it. And this is quintessentially my parents. My dad's the Leo. My mom acts in her Capricorn. December 2nd, Mercury in Capricorn sextile Saturn in Pisces. It's a good day to make something solid. The energies work together in cooperation in 60-degree difference. And so it's really a nice energy between Mercury and Saturn to create the structure of something you want to take off and stay around for a while. December 4th, Venus enters Scorpio at 1:51 p.m. Eastern, 10:51 a.m. Pacific. Venus in Scorpio means that she is now in her sexual energy, in her power with others. The joint finances are going well. She sees the situation intuitively, and we are able to read people through our intuition, through our receptivity of the situation that's going on. December 6th, Neptune direct in Pisces, 8:20 a.m. Eastern. Moon enters Libra at 11:35 a.m. Eastern. And Moon in conjunct to Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Taurus, the 6th. Neptune goes direct in Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces. So, of course, at the end degrees now, we are finally letting go of some of the restriction that we feel with Neptune retrograde and that sense that everything is always, harsh and the rose-colored glasses are off. Neptune direct in Pisces, now we can feel more enveloped in true universal love and be really in our intuition. We may feel more drowsy, more sleepy. The water stuff, again, it's always, water shifts in a large scale. So that can be blizzards, rainstorms, weather going on, tides and flooding, all sorts of oceanic energy and atmospheric water. Moon enters Libra, which can dry out a little bit of the excess water, but they are not cooperative energies between Pisces and Libra. They're in conjunct. And so Moon in Libra is going to feel that she needs more balance, but it is more of a one-on-one energy coming in and how we think of it. And Moon is more moody and emotional, but in Libra, Moon wants to really balance out that moodiness. Moon is in conjunct to Saturn, I think I said that, and Jupiter in Taurus. So Moon in Libra squares Jupiter in Taurus, but is in conjunct to Saturn in Pisces. So probably around the home and family life, we're not going to necessarily get our way. People are going to be a little more sporadic, a little bit more nonverbal and slow to take action, which is what Jupiter and Taurus can be. December 9th, Venus in Scorpio is opposite Jupiter in Taurus, and it's about money, love, commitment, joint finances, legalities. Venus in Scorpio digging deep, Jupiter in Taurus taking its time. And that's about planting seeds, watching things grow over time, whether it's love, money, or necessarily growing something in the physical world, such as, flowers. Okay, December 12th. Moon in Sagittarius joins Mars in Sagittarius at 5:05 a.m. Eastern. And there's a new moon at 20 degrees Sagittarius at 6:32 p.m. So Moon, Mars, and a new moon that day. It's definitely about travel. And we will see in the next little bit that I'm about to tell you why that's going to be tough. I would say up until December 12th, it's going to be okay to travel. But after December 12th, there are going to be frustrations because Mercury retrogrades December 13th in Sagittarius. The fourth retrograde of the year, there will be travel issues for sure. That means a withdrawal of the technological energy, of the mindset of travel. We may decide to go against travel or change our minds about the way we're going to execute that particular event. Just know that it's going to be affecting us for 3 weeks. And so as of the 13th, it's through the beginning of January. Not necessarily a fun Christmas time. December 21st is the winter solstice. Sun enters Capricorn, Venus in Scorpio opposite Uranus in Taurus. Moon enters Taurus at 9:50 p.m. Eastern. Sun enters Capricorn at 10:27 p.m. Eastern and 10:27 p.m. Eastern, 7:27 p.m. Pacific. Moon in Taurus sextile to Saturn in Pisces overnight. So breaking it down, Sun enters Capricorn. I think Pluto will be back in Aquarius by then, or maybe it goes all the way to the end of the year. Okay, Pluto is still in Capricorn. So Sun enters Capricorn, Pluto is at the end degrees of Capricorn. So the light is shining on all things Capricorn. So structure and growth and cycles of stability and responsibility, while Pluto is definitely taking our psyche to task, trying to get us to be aware more of that need to be independent of those rules and structures. Venus and Scorpio opposite Uranus and Taurus. Venus and Scorpio is, again, the deep dive into our emotions around our identity on the feminine side and also desires, money, love. Uranus and Taurus, again, Taurus is ruled by Venus, so it's pretty intense. It's an adjustment and it's a view of how to create a synergy between the material world and the emotional world. Moon enters Taurus at 9:50 p.m. And so Moon in Taurus, growth, new energy in Taurus. Sun enters Capricorn. So we have Moon in Taurus, Sun in Capricorn. Again, practical, tangible, material, getting the last bits of what we need for Christmas done. Moon in Taurus, sextile Saturn and Pisces overnight. Really strong energy around money and growth of money. Okay, to clarify, we have Mercury entering Capricorn on the 2nd, or actually on the 1st. Mercury enters Capricorn 9:31 a.m. on the 1st. Then Mercury stays in Capricorn until it retrogrades on December 13th. It's retrograde in Capricorn. I earlier said Sagittarius. It actually retrogrades in Capricorn, then goes back into Sagittarius on the 23rd overnight. So it will be in Sagittarius again, December 22nd, 23rd. And, all the same attributes apply as when we mentioned it earlier. Then on the 24th of December, Sun in Capricorn sextile Saturn in Pisces. It's pleasant, sentimental, elderly, and nostalgic. And then December 26th, the moon enters Cancer at 10:15 a.m. Eastern, 7:15 a.m. Pacific. Full moon in Cancer at 4 degrees at 7:33 p.m. Eastern, 4:33 p.m. Pacific. Chiron goes direct at 10:10 p.m. Mercury in Sagittarius squares Neptune in Pisces overnight. So moon enters Cancer in its own sign, can get moody and broody, expect people to be a little, moody. And then a full moon in Cancer, it's like trying to release some energy as it goes into Cancer. So it's early degrees though. So it's Cancer, it's home and family very strongly. Chiron goes direct. That's the wounding. I'm pretty sure Chiron is still in Aries at the end of there. Yes, it is. And so that could mean also some kind of event around a wounding with male energy or drive or emergencies. Mercury in Sagittarius squares Pisces overnight. It's going to be overnight, so who cares? Go to sleep. December 29th, Venus enters Sagittarius 3:24 p.m. Eastern, 12:24 p.m. Pacific. Venus enters Sagittarius, a love of travel, a love of spirituality. Venus is feminine energy and Sagittarius is comedic. So humor is highlighted. Sports is highlighted. Of course, it's the end of the year, which means you're going to have bowl games. December 30th, Jupiter goes direct. That should affect the bowl games. 9:40 p.m. Eastern, 6:40 p.m. Pacific at 5 degrees Taurus. So if there are sports events going on December 30th, 2023, whoever's ahead is going to probably not be the one to win. Anyway, there will be a shift midway through the game. That is 2023 in a nutshell. Thank you for having patience with me. There's going to be a ton of editing, even though I'm not going to edit out a lot of my ums and so's and ands. I'm going to be editing a lot of congestion from gluten. Oh, well. 2023, give up sugar and gluten. Take care. We will see you here soon with all the breakdowns of the different signs. And enjoy this. Please do share it and subscribe. like, and comment, and have a peaceful, wonderful 2023. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab.
Oh my God, this splitting hairs is going to drive me batty.
To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at AstroEnergy Astrology Show.